What complicates the issue is that they usually deny that they believe that Allah has a body. Usually. On the contrary, they usually say that they do not believe that He has a body. However, some of them say that they do not confirm whether He has a body or not, which is still blasphemy. Kufr. Some of them might say that He has a body, but then would say that they do not know how His body is, which also does not escape blasphemy. All those cases are blasphemy. Yani, if he denies that Allah has a body, that's true. That saying that Allah is not a body is not blasphemy. But saying that he doesn't know if he has a body or not, or we don't know how his body is, or his body is not like ours, all of that is blasphemy. That's all kufr. Because for sure he doesn't have a body. We'll talk about that. And it's not permissible to have any uncertainty. Neutrality and uncertainty are kufr. Neutrality, at-tawaqquf, and uncertainty, shak, are kufr. It's blasphemy. A person has no option except yaqeen. Yaqeen, certainty. Certainty. The belief is valid by yaqeen, and the belief is invalid by tawaqquf or shak. Fil aqeedah. في أسس العقيدة, in the fundamentals of the creed. They would deny that Allah has a body because they know that they would be clearly admitting that He is like His creations. Taking this position may be the case of most of them. Despite this denial, it is known that they secretly believe that Allah has a body, because they hate for someone to say that He has no place or direction, and they think that denial of place and direction is denial of His existence. So taking this position may be the case of most of them. Most likely, a Wahhabi will say to you, I don't say that Allah has a body. Allah is not a body. Or if he knows that, he just can't win that argument with you. It wouldn't be a surprise if he would actually say it to someone he thinks he could say it to or get away with. So he would deny that Allah has a body because he knows that he would be clearly admitting that Allah is like His creations. Taking this position may be the case of most of them. Despite this denial, it is known that they secretly believe that Allah has a body. This is what we're saying. The Wahhabi says, I don't say Allah is attributed with organs. We say, Allah, you do say Allah is attributed with organs. Actually, in meaning you do. You don't pronounce that, but in meaning you do. You say everything but the word. And the scholars of Ahlul Sunnah said that this is their Aqidah. They said it's their secret creed. Not just these Wahhabis. The people who liken Allah to the creation throughout history. Like this. This is a reappearance of the previous phenomenon, with modifications. But what we're saying is that in the Islamic history, those who believed in Tajseem, the scholars are saying, like Abu Nasr al-Qushayri, that they in reality believe in likening Allah to the creations. However, they camouflage it. So there's certain things we're going to point out to prove that yes, they do believe Allah has a body. And this is the case here. He would say Allah is not a body. But it is known that they secretly believe that Allah has a body because they hate for someone to say that he has no place or direction. Because to confirm that he has no place or direction negates what they really believe in their hearts, which is that he is in a place and in a direction, which would mean that he's a body. This is the case of the body. And they think that denial of place and direction is denial of his existence. They have, not in their intellects, but in their imaginations, arrived at the conclusion that denying a place for Allah is denying his existence. This is not something from the mind, this is something from the imagination. Because denying that Allah is in a place or a direction negates whatever he's been previously imagining. Whatever he had been previously imagining, when we approach him and say Allah exists without a place or direction, it erased what he had been imagining. Then he'll say, you deny the existence of Allah. He doesn't realize that he imagines. Had that been true, then where was Allah before he created places and directions with a capital H, and that was fixed? Hence the draft watermark in the background. No. So had that been true, then where was Allah before he created places and directions? He existed without places and directions before he created places and directions. That's something that is beyond the imagination, but is confirmed by the mind, is confirmed by a person who simply wants to think about it, who wants to apply his mind. Allah Ta'ala praised this in his book. Many do not confirm whether Allah has a body or not, because they would not want to explicitly liken Allah to his creations, and at the same time they do not want to reject their literal meanings, because they know what their literal meanings, they know what they believe, but they don't want to say it. This is still blasphemy, since being neutral and saying I do not say if Allah has a body or not is like doubting about Allah. It's similar to doubting about Allah. It's neutral, neutrality. This is still blasphemy, since being neutral and saying I do not say if Allah has a body or not, tawaqquf, stopping, is like doubting about Allah. In what way? It is a lack of certainty, yaqeen. And lack of certainty is blasphemy, for sure. You have three things, brothers and sisters. You have certainty, you have, or let me say it in a different way. You have three things. You have confirmation, you have denial and negation. That's something else. One thing is confirmation, another thing is denial, negation, and then there's something in between. Then there's something in between. Something in between confirming and denying. Okay. But before we look at that thing in between, let's look at two other things. You have something called iman, that means belief, faith, and something called kufr, blasphemy. Before we look at that thing in the middle, let's look at the two edges. Certainty goes with which one? Faith or blasphemy? Goes with faith. denial goes with which one? Faith or blasphemy goes with blasphemy. Yaqeen, certainty, is with iman. And takdhib, wal-jahd, denial, is kufr, blasphemy. But there's something in between belief. There's something in between confirmation and negation, which is shak and tawakkuf, doubt and neutrality. Now, these two, doubt and neutrality, they have to go to one of those two categories up top. It's either iman or kufr. There's nothing in between. There's nothing in between iman and kufr. So, which one it is? Kufr. Doubt is kufr, and tawakkuf is kufr. Only yaqeen is iman. So this is still blasphemy, since being neutral and saying I do not say if Allah has a body or not is like doubting about Allah. It is a lack of certainty, yaqeen, and lack of certainty is blasphemy. It is the same as saying I do not say if Allah exists or not, or I do not say if Allah has a partner or not. The one who doubts or is neutral about any attribute of Allah that is known by necessity, such as His knowledge, power, the fact that He does not resemble the creations, etc., is not a Muslim. That's against the Aqidah, it's against the fundamental creed. As mentioned by the great Imam Abu Hanifa, one of the heads of the real Salaf. So here we are. We want to talk about the Salaf. We brought one from the Salaf. And we'll have many more. In his book al-Wahhabiyy, he said, whoever says that Allah has a created attribute, or doubts, or is neutral, is a blasphemer. That's a literal translation. Whoever considers it possible for Allah to have a body, even if he did not believe that Allah actually has a body, would blaspheme for deeming it possible. The less intelligent among them might say that Allah has a body because it is obvious that they describe a body, but they would say that His body is not like ours, or that they do not know how His body is. For sure, the one who says this is stupid, is dumb, literally. Yani, not to, just to really say it as it is. Wahhabiyy. He's dumb. According to the great Ahmad ibn Hanbal, the Salafi scholar, Imam Ahmad, the Salafi scholar, whom they often claim to follow, whoever says that Allah has a body unlike other bodies blasphemes. That is a statement of Imam Ahmad, radiyallahu anhu, that's narrated by Az-Zarkashi and others. And what was also narrated by, from Imam Ahmad in his book, not Ahmad's book, the creed of the distinguished Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Abu Fadl at-Tamimi, the head of the Hanbali scholars in Baghdad, said, Ahmad objected to those who call Allah a body and said, the names of things are taken from the language and the religious law. The linguists defined the jism, body, as that which has length, width, depth, composition, and image, and the term jism, did not come in the religious law, so it is inapplicable. That was also changed. And so it is inapplicable. What does this statement mean? He said the names of things are taken from the language and the religious law. That means there's two sources for the names of things. We either know the name of something from the language itself, or else the other way to know the name of something is that a name for something came in the religion. And so that's its name because the religion said so. The religion came and said that Allah is al-Khaliq, that's one of his names, then that's his name. Al-Khaliq. That's what he's called. That's one of his names. Now, these are the two sources for the meanings of words. Not the meanings of words, the names of things. The names of things. These are our two sources for the names of things. The language and the religious law. So, linguistically, what is the case of the word jism? That which has length, width, depth, composition, and image. And that's not applicable. So linguistically it doesn't work. Did it come in the religion? And it did not come in the religious law, and so it is inapplicable. Meaning it didn't come in reference to Allah Ta'ala. There's no ayah from the Quran or hadith from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that names Allah al-Jism, the body. So it is inapplicable. Furthermore, it is blasphemous to say that they do not know how his body is. This is furthermore. Yani, the first case is that they deemed it possible that he had a body. That's blasphemy. Furthermore, it's blasphemous to say that they do not know how his body is. From what point of view, what's the difference? Because the scholars of Islam have made it very clear that how cannot be attributed to him. Throughout the books of the Sunni scholars, you would find that they said about Allah and his attributes, so the word about needs to be in there. That they said about Allah and his attributes, bila kayf, without a how, i.e. without a manner of being. And they didn't say we don't know how, they said there is no how. Bila kayf. So why is kufr? Because if you attribute a how to Allah and then say you don't know about it, you attributed the created attribute to Allah. Because that's what how refers to, the created attribute. Allah exists without a how. Without a how, manner of being. Without a manner of being. Thus to say they do not know how he is to say that there is a how, but it is unknown to them. Saying that the how is unknown does not negate the fact that they believe that he has a body. Saying the how is unknown, we don't know how, that doesn't negate the fact that they believe that Allah has a body. So saying we don't know how is not actually saying we don't believe that it's a body. Alright? So the point here is, it would be said to a wahhabiyy, you believe that Allah is a body. He'll say, no, I don't. We'll say, yes, because you said that Allah is attributed with these attributes by their literal and apparent meanings. And those literal and apparent meanings are body parts, are organs. So he'll say, we don't know how. Well, but we don't know how. And in his mind, saying, we don't know how means that he's negating that Allah is a body. Or he's negating that Allah is like the creation. He's not. By saying we don't know how, he's not negating that Allah is a body. By saying we don't know how, he's just saying we don't know what kind of body he is. That's because that's what how means, unless they don't know what they're saying out of their mouths. Unless they don't know the meaning of the word they're saying, which they do. So saying that the how is unknown does not negate the fact that they believe that he has a body. Just as saying the door is open, or opened, but I don't know how, does not negate the fact that the door is open. Likewise, they say, we don't know how he sits, or how he descends, or how his hands or eyes are. This is how they speak, etc. But they are always firm to say, but it's by the apparent meaning. And this statement, they will never leave it, because it is the essence of their creed. The apparent meaning is the physical meaning, the organ meaning. What this truly means is that they do not know if he is sitting Indian style in their claim, or like one sits in the prayer, or and they do not know if he descends head first or feet first, or if he has a human hand or a monkey hand, or an eye on the chin or an eye on the forehead, etc. These are things taken from their different words that they say. They always talk about the monkey hand, they talk about the clock hand. There is a similarity between all of them. The monkey hand is similar to the human hand. How can you say it's not the same? It's not similar. So if one of them says, we do not know how, tell him that the scholars of the real Salaf have agreed that there is no how, which is a categoric negation of any mode or fashion or manner of being. It means Allah exists with no place, with no direction, with no space, without filling a space. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala exists without dimensions, without length, width, and depth. He's alive without a body and a soul. He's knowledgeable without a heart. He sees without eyes. He hears without ears. He speaks without a tongue and without sounds and without languages. This is the correct belief in God, and the correct belief in Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. As narrated from the likes of Salama, the Prophet's wife, and Imam Malik, those are both from the Salaf. The Prophet's wife, Salama, she negated that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has a how. She said, وَالْكَيْفُ غَيْرُ مَعْقُولٍ أو على نحو ذلك. She said the kayf is irrational. It's narrated from Salama, the Prophet's wife, that she said kayf is irrational. And Imam Malik also, he said the same. He said kayf is irrational. وَالْكَيْفُ غَيْرُ مَعْقُولٍ. It is irrational. It is against the mind. It is against the intellect. And we'll come back to talk about the quote of Imam Malik, because they use a weak version of what Imam Malik said in this instance. If Allah will, this point will be revisited in the section, the truth about istiwa. These people may have never learned the correct belief. So when they learned their incorrect belief and they became attached to it, that is, when they develop a warped logic, when they, as one might say, wrap their mind around their creed with its bumps and imperfections, it's inconsistent, then they develop a warped logic. Like anyone else who takes a creed different from the creed of Ahlul Sunnah. Anyone who takes a creed other than the creed of Ahlul Sunnah will surely fall into a contradiction. As a rule, anyone who has a creed other than the creed of Ahlul Sunnah he will surely fall into a contradiction in his creed. Their thinking is based on an unsound premise that Allah has attributed with these human attributes, but they don't call them human attributes, but they mean eye, a literal eye, literal hands, literal face, literal shin. That's their words. But they just turn around and say, but not like ours. We say this is a contradiction. We don't accept. And we'll explain further, inshallah. They also have other horrendous and contradictory claims, which need not be mentioned now. There is an index for the book, not the index, an appendix, in which, inshallah, we'll branch off into some other subjects. They also have other horrendous and contradictory claims, which need not be mentioned now. As a result, their thinking became twisted, like the Christians who say that Allah is one and is three, while He is one. The Wahhabis believe that Allah has these attributes, to be fair, has these attributes, yet they claim that they believe that Allah is not similar to His creations. This is clearly unsound and incorrect. Any question? Fine, no question. Let's keep going. How the Wahhabis interpret the texts. Notice that their so-called proofs have not been referenced yet. We didn't say that they use this ayah or this hadith. Go through this process gradually and systematically. First, have a general idea of how they believe in Allah. Yani, what is their conviction in Allah? The word believe here is not for the word iman in Arabic. It's not for the word iman. The word believe here, it means their conviction. First, have a general idea of how they believe in Allah. I don't even like the way that's worded. I'm going to change that. Their conviction in Allah. Okay. First, it now reads like this. First, have a general idea of their conviction in Allah, which is really disbelief. It's not a correct creed. They will not deny the belief of which we have accused them, but they may deny certain words used in this book, like organ and motion. They openly use such words as real, literal, and apparent when they attribute these attributes to Allah. They openly use such words as real, literal, and apparent when they attribute these attributes to Allah. In Arabic, they use such words as zahir and haqiqah, which means literal, apparent, obvious, the seeming meaning, what appears. But why do they believe these things? The following is the reasoning behind their bad conviction in Allah. be exalted. They believe that Allah must be attributed with these attributes because of some literal meanings of Quranic verses and hadiths of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They say that these attributes are found in the Quran and the Sunnah. That's what they say. They say that these attributes are found in the Quran and the Sunnah. So we must believe in them. And whoever does not believe in them has negated them. They wouldn't throw the word bodily in there. They say these attributes are found in the Quran and the Sunnah, so we must believe in them. And whoever does not believe in them has negated them. They mean that one must believe in those texts by their literal meanings. And whoever does not believe in the literal meanings has completely negated the attribute. They mean that one must believe in those texts by their literal meanings. That's what they mean. So what do they say? They say this came in the Quran and the Sunnah. It came in the Kitab and the Sunnah. So we have to believe in them. We have to take them. Whoever doesn't believe in them has negated them. He's denied them. That's what they say. What they mean is you have to take it by the apparent meaning. And if you don't take the apparent meaning, then you have denied the attribute of Allah, which of course is not true. Is that clear, brothers and sisters? Hence, if they meet someone who does not believe that the yad of Allah is a real and literal hand, they will accuse him of rejecting an attribute of Allah. If they find someone who does not believe that Allah has a true and literal face, they would, as they would describe it without explicitly calling it an organ, they would accuse him of completely rejecting an attribute of Allah. You understand, brothers and sisters? It's clear so far? This twisted reasoning is a trick that led many Muslims to blasphemy. It's a lure. They say this came in the Quran, we have to take it. And they mean we have to take it by the apparent meaning, and that's not true. And they follow it up with saying things like, we can't empty the meanings out. We can't play with that. We take it as it came. So that it sounds like they have such firm, strong convictions in believing in the Quran and believing in Allah no matter what. But this is a lure. هذه fitnah. This is their fitnah. This twisted reasoning is a trick that led many Muslims to blasphemy. They left Islam to join the Wahhabis, not realizing that this reasoning is perverted. It is unsound. They did not possess the answers that would protect their faith. Seeing that too many Muslims did not know how to defend themselves or Islam against the lies of the Wahhabis is what inspired the writing of this book. The Wahhabis are exactly among those whom Allah clearly warned us about in the Quran when He told us, فَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ زَيْغٌ فَيَتَّبِعُونَ مَا تَشَابَهَ مِنْهُ ابتغاء الفتنة وابتغاء تأويله. Which means, as for those with perversion in their hearts, with in their hearts, E-R-R. They follow what is ambiguous, mutashabih, in it, in the Quran, seeking tribulation and seeking its misinterpretation. This ayah exposes those people. The meaning of this ayah is فَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ زَيْغٌ. As for those who have deviance in their hearts, perversion in their hearts, it means they have the tendency to err. They have the tendency to go away from the truth in their hearts. فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ زَيْغٌ, which is a sickness in their hearts. What about them? فَيَتَّبِعُونَ مَا تَشَابَهَ مِنْهُ. They follow what is ambiguous from the Quran. Ambiguous means what can have more than one meaning. ابْتِغَاءَ الْفِتْنَةِ. They do it seeking fitnah. Their goal is fitnah. They're out for fitnah. And what is their fitnah? Their fitnah is that they argue with you to take you out of your conviction. They come to the Sunni and debate with him about his creed and attempt to take him out of his creed into their creed. This is their fitnah. وَابْتِغَاءَ تَأْوِيلِهِ. And seeking its misinterpretation, meaning they're seeking what's not its meaning. That's the meaning of وَابْتِغَاءَ تَأْوِيلِهِ. They're seeking its ta'wil. Ta'wil has many meanings. They're seeking its ta'wil. Here it means they're seeking the wrong meaning. That doesn't mean that on purpose they're looking for the wrong meaning. It means the meaning they want is the wrong meaning. That's what it means. It means the meaning that they want from the ayah is the wrong meaning. وَابْتِغَاءَ تَأْوِيلِهِ. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala warned us about these people. The perversion in their hearts is their inclination away from the truth and towards falsehood. Their following the ambiguous verses is their tracking them, putting them all together and listing them one after the other. هكذا. What did Allah say? فَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ زَيْغٌ. As for those who have deviance in their hearts, فَيَتَّبِعُونَ مَا تَشَابَهَ مِنْهُ. They follow what is ambiguous from the Quran. They follow it, that is, they pursue it. What is their pursuing? What is their following of what is ambiguous in the Quran? It is they're tracking those verses, going after them, putting them all together and listing them one after the other. ابتغاء الفتنة. Their tribulation is their argumentation and debating with the Muslim to take him out of his religion into their false creed. وَابْتِغَاءَ تَأْوِيلِهِ. They want to give the texts meanings that comply with their creeds instead of making their creeds comply with the texts. That is al-hawa, hawa nafs, the devious desire in the self. Know that these difficult people do not deem rational thinking valid. How could they when it shows the invalidity of their creed? For example, how could they absurdly say Allah is above the throne and there is no place there, while the word there refers to a place? What's the word there? The word there itself refers to a place. How could they say Allah is above the throne and there is no place there? يقولون الله فوق العرش حيث لا مكان. حيث تدل على المكان. They say that Allah descends during the last third of the night, but it is always the last third of the night somewhere on earth. So he would have to be going up and down, up and down, up and down non-stop. When then would he be over the throne according to them? When he's going to be over the throne, he always has to be below in the last third of the night according to them. According to them, he's below. The last third of the night is always the last third of the night somewhere. So when is he above? So he has to be below and above. Then he has to go up and down. So they believe that Allah Ta'ala is like a yo-yo. You know the yo-yo? Wal-'iyadhu billah. Like a roller coaster. Whoever used his mind would be sure that the texts that they refer to have meanings different from what they claim, even if he did not know what those meanings were. Simply for the stupidity of these claims, they say logic is good, but it has its place. And what they truly mean is that one must believe what they consider to be the proper belief, regardless of logic or reasoning. They say logic is good, but it has its place. What they mean is that just believe in what we've said. They mean that logic's place is outside of the religion. Should we take a break here, inshallah ta'ala? He says, so those beliefs result by them rejecting all majaz speech in the Quran. Yes. Or either all of it or what they want to deny. And that's coming up next, inshallah ta'ala.